You won't believe what went down the moment we hit play on Beyoncé's life is but a dream documentary. From the very first frame, the energy in the room shifted like the air got heavier. Like something dramatic was about to explode. And let me tell you, emotions did not just run high, they erupted. 1 second, we were laughing at a sweet behind-the-scenes moment. And the next, jaws were literally on the floor as Beyoncé revealed secrets that even her most loyal fans weren't ready for. And here's the wild part, this wasn't just about Beyoncé. Oh no, this documentary stirred up old wounds, reopened hidden family drama, and even triggered some heated arguments right here in our reaction. People were throwing out accusations, defending their sides, and honestly, it felt like we were part of the story itself. Fans online are already divided, some saying Beyoncé was brave for exposing it all, others claiming she went too far. Trust me, the tension you're about to witness in this reaction is unlike anything you've seen before. By the end of it, even we were questioning everything we thought we knew about Beyoncé, her family, and the life she's fought to build. The screen flickered, and the first soft notes of Beyoncé's voice floated through the room. And instantly, there was a hush, the kind of silence that only happens when something bigger than all of us is about to unfold. At first, it felt intimate, almost tender, like we were being invited into her private world. But beneath that calm, I swear, there was a tension brewing, a storm waiting to break. Everyone watching leaned in closer, eyes wide as if they already sensed the drama that was about to unravel. Beyoncé spoke about her struggles, about how hard it was to balance fame with her personal life, and suddenly it didn't feel like a documentary anymore, it felt like a confession. Fans watching along in the chat started flooding comments, some typing that they were in tears, others saying they had goosebumps. And then it happened, the first real shock of the night. Beyoncé admitted she often felt misunderstood by those closest to her, even within her own family. The words landed like a thunderclap. Someone sitting beside me whispered, "Did she just say that?" As if repeating it would make it less real. In that moment, it wasn't just Beyoncé on screen. It was her mother, her father, her sister, the entire world that had shaped her. Her voice trembled slightly, and you could see the weight of years pressing down on her shoulders. The honesty was raw, unpolished. And that's exactly why it cut so deep. One of the watchers slammed their hand on the table and said, "This is bigger than a documentary. This is a breakdown of her entire life." Another shook their head, muttering under their breath that maybe some things were better left unsaid. The divide began right there. People were choosing sides, some defending her vulnerability, others questioning her decision to expose these truths so openly. The air grew thicker when she spoke about her father. She described moments of pressure, of feeling like a product rather than a daughter. And though her tone remained soft, the implication was explosive. The camera lingered on her face, her eyes glassy, and fans online typed frantically, calling it one of the most heartbreaking admissions of her career. And just as the room was beginning to process it, a voice from the group erupted. "She's calling him out. This is a direct hit at her father." The accusation lingered in the air, heavy, undeniable. Others protested immediately, saying it wasn't about blame, it was about pain, about reclaiming her truth. Suddenly our reaction turned into a full-blown debate, voices clashing, each person clinging to their interpretation of her words. Then, as if the documentary itself sensed the rising conflict, it delivered the next blow. A clip played where Beyoncé revealed how often she doubted herself, how she sometimes cried alone in her room, wondering if the world loved her for who she was or just for the image she projected. The vulnerability cracked open something in us too. A friend sitting nearby whispered, "I didn't sign up for this emotional roller coaster." But their eyes stayed glued to the screen, unable to look away. Fans online began posting that this was the realest they had ever seen her. One comment popped up saying, "This changes everything I thought I knew about her." Another insisted she's braver than all of us combined. But the split was growing. For every fan praising her openness, there was another questioning her motives, asking why she would reveal such personal wounds, knowing the world would dissect them like vultures. The documentary shifted again, cutting to footage of her preparing for a concert, the lights, the rehearsals, the endless work. It was dazzling, but under the glitter, there was exhaustion, and you could see it etched across her face. In the reaction room, someone muttered, "This is the price of being Beyoncé," while another snapped back, "No, this is the price of her family pushing her so hard." And just like that, the family drama narrative deepened suddenly. One of the viewers pulled out their phone and began scrolling through old interviews, insisting they remembered a time when Beyoncé defended her father publicly. They read out quotes, shaking their heads, saying, "This is a complete reversal. She's rewriting the story." Others quickly jumped in, arguing that people evolve, that pain changes the way you see the past. Voices overlapped, accusations flew, and the atmosphere grew more chaotic by the second. And then came the moment that silenced even the loudest debaters. Beyoncé, looking straight into the camera, said softly, "I just want to be free." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of years of control, pressure, and sacrifice. The silence that followed was eerie. You could feel hearts breaking, not just hers, but ours too. As if she had peeled back the final layer of her soul. She's talking about her family, one person insisted in a trembling voice. She's begging to escape them. Immediately, another shot back. Angrily, "No, she's talking about fame, about the industry. Stop twisting it." The clash of interpretations was explosive, with emotions spilling over until it felt like we were living out the drama instead of reacting to it. Fans online added fuel to the fire. Some posting crying emojis, others calling it the most powerful moment of her career. A few even accused her of betraying her own blood for the sake of publicity, while others passionately defended her right to speak her truth. The divide grew deeper, and the tension in our reaction reached its boiling point. Then, just when it felt like we couldn't take any more, the documentary cut to a moment of silence, just Beyoncé, alone, staring out of a window. The stillness was haunting, like the calm after a storm, yet it carried more intensity than all the dramatic confessions before it. In that pause, everyone in the room seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the next revelation, the next fracture in the story, and that's exactly where part one leaves us. The storm has only just begun. The lines between family and fame are starting to blur, and the reaction is spiraling into something no one expected. With every word Beyoncé reveals, the divide widens. Loyalties are tested, and the question hanging over everyone is simple but devastating: whose side are we really on? The silence of that window shot lingered far longer than anyone expected. Her stillness was so heavy, so loaded with unspoken words, that even in our reaction room no one dared to move. It was as though we were all holding our breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. And then, without warning, the calm shattered. The next scene opened with Beyoncé in a heated conversation, her voice low but firm, speaking about the cost of trusting people too much. The words slipped like daggers. And suddenly, it wasn't just about the industry anymore, it was personal. She spoke of betrayals, of people she had once leaned on only to find them using her name, her fame, and her kindness for their own gain. The effect was immediate. One of our watchers jumped up from their seat and shouted, "This is about her. Father, again, it has to be." But before anyone could agree, another voice in the room clapped back with equal fire. "No, this is about Jay. This is about her marriage. You're blind if you don't see it." The argument sparked like gasoline on fire. Accusations flew, hands gestured wildly, and the room was a storm of clashing interpretations. Some defended her family, claiming she would never truly expose them this way, while others swore the betrayal she spoke of could only come from someone as close as blood. Fans online were equally split, spamming the live chat with theories, emojis, and outrage. And then, as though the documentary had been waiting for the perfect moment to twist the knife, a clip surfaced of Beyoncé sitting across from her mother. Tina's face was calm, but her eyes betrayed years of silent struggle. Beyoncé confessed in that moment that she often felt like she was carrying the expectations of everyone around her. And though she loved her mother deeply, the weight sometimes felt unbearable. The room gasped. One person clutched their chest. Dramatically and whispered, she actually said it to her mother's face. Another shouted, "Fans are going to tear this apart." Sure. Enough. Within seconds, social media began exploding. Some praised her bravery for being so transparent. Others claimed she had crossed a sacred boundary by putting her mother into the spotlight of her pain, as Tina tried to reassure her daughter. The tension grew. Beyoncé's tears welled up, her voice cracked, and the vulnerability was raw enough to pierce even the hardest skeptic. One of our watchers whispered, "This is too much. She's breaking in front of us," while another leaned forward with wide eyes, whispering, "No, this is the most real we've ever seen her." But the storm didn't stop there. The next sequence took us into footage of Beyoncé alone in her dressing room, recording herself on a handheld camera. Her words were almost like a diary entry, but what she admitted left everyone reeling. She said she often wondered if her family loved her for who she was, or simply because of what she could provide. The collective gasp in our reaction room was deafening. Someone slammed their hand on the couch and exclaimed, "That's a direct accusation." Another protested, their voice trembling. "No, she doesn't mean it like that. She's just venting. You're twisting her pain into drama." But the damage was done. Emotions ran high, sides were chosen, and suddenly our room felt like it was splitting apart the way her family seemed to be. And then came the twist that sent shockwaves through every one footage of her father, Matthew Knowles, defending his past choices in a rare interview snippet. His words were calm, almost calculated, as he spoke about sacrifice and discipline, claiming that everything he did was for her success. It should have been reassuring, but instead it sounded like justification, like a man trying to rewrite his role in a story already scarred with conflict. Our watchers lost it. One person shouted, "He's gaslighting her." Others shook their head, muttering, "He's just being a father. Everyone's twisting this." The divide grew sharper, louder, and by then, even the fans online had erupted into a war of comments. Hashtags began trending, some defending Matthew, others declaring solidarity with Beyoncé. The family was left divided in the eyes of millions. We were caught in the middle of the firestorm. The documentary didn't hold back. In the very next cut, Beyoncé admitted that there were days she felt completely alone, despite being surrounded by people. Her voice cracked as she asked, almost to herself, "What's the point of having it all if you can't share it with people who love you unconditionally?" The vulnerability was gut-wrenching. One watcher in our group whispered, "She's talking about her husband now?" sparking another round of chaos. "No, she's talking about her father," another retorted. Someone else jumped in, "You're all wrong. She's talking about her entire family, don't you see? She's saying she has no one." The arguments overlapped, voices raising, emotions spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, the chat section online was nothing short of a battlefield. Some typed in all caps that this was proof she was ready to distance herself from her family forever. Others pleaded for compassion, saying this was just a woman bearing her soul in the hopes of healing. The debate was endless, each side refusing to budge. Then came a curveball no one expected. The screen showed rare footage of Beyoncé talking about her miscarriage. Her voice broke as she recounted the pain, the silence, the emptiness. The room froze. No one argued, no one spoke. Even online, the comments slowed for a moment, replaced by crying emojis, broken hearts, and messages of love. It was one of the few moments where fans, family, and watchers alike were united in grief. But just as quickly as it came, the unity shattered when she admitted that during that time she felt unsupported by those closest to her. The words landed like explosives. Who wasn't there for her? Someone whispered. This is the biggest betrayal yet. And suddenly, theories began flying again. Some blamed her father, others whispered about her mother, and a few dared to point fingers at Jay, suggesting the cracks in her marriage had begun long before the public suspected. The reaction turned into a shouting match, voices crashing into one another as each person fought to prove their interpretation was right. The documentary continued, showing her smiling on stage, performing for thousands, but the juxtaposition was brutal. Behind the glitter, the exhaustion and loneliness we had just seen made her smile look almost tragic. One watcher muttered, "This is a mask. She's wearing a mask," while another shook their head, insisting, "No, she's showing her strength." Fans online were spiraling. Some accused her of manipulating emotions. Others said she was finally free of the chains of perfection. The world felt divided into camps, each one pulling her story in a different direction. And then, just when we thought the drama couldn't go any deeper, the documentary ended the sequence with a chilling line. Beyoncé's voice, soft but unflinching, declared, "Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest." The room went silent again, but this time it wasn't peaceful, it was suffocating. Everyone stared at each other, no one willing to say out loud what they were all thinking. Who was she talking about? Was it her father? Her husband? Her family as a whole? The ambiguity was devastating, and the lack of answers left everyone on edge. The screen faded to black for a moment, and our reaction group sat frozen, caught between outrage, heartbreak, and disbelief. The family fractures were sharper, the accusations heavier, and the betrayals too raw to ignore. The screen flickered back to life after that heavy black fade, and the atmosphere in the room was unbearable. People were shifting in their seats, hearts pounding, waiting for the next revelation. It's the words she had just spoken about the people you love, hurting you the deepest, were still hanging like smoke in the air. And then came the twist no one was prepared for. The next scene opened with Beyoncé sitting across from Solange. The room on screen was quiet, intimate, and tense. The sisters locked eyes, and instantly everyone in our reaction space gasped. Whispers rushed through the room. "This is it. This is the confrontation." Beyoncé began softly, her voice filled with that careful calm she always carries. But beneath it was a river of hurt. She spoke about feeling misunderstood, about sometimes being the glue that held everything together, but never being allowed to crumble herself. Solange's face tightened. She leaned forward and replied, "You think you're the only one who carries the weight. Do you know what it's like being your sister, living in your shadow?" Our room erupted. One watcher shouted, "Oh my God, Solange is finally saying it." Another clapped their hands in shock, saying, "This is the sibling rivalry moment fans always suspected but never saw on camera." The sisters' conversation escalated. Beyoncé, fighting tears, said she never asked to be placed on a pedestal, that the pressure of perfection was a prison. Solange snapped back that the world only saw Beyoncé's pain but never hers, that she too had scars from living under the blinding light of someone else's fame. The tension was electric, the kind that made your skin prickle. One of our watchers covered their face and muttered, "This is too real. This is tearing them apart." Another whispered furiously, "No, this is healing. They're finally saying what's been buried for years." The divide in the room grew sharper, each side clinging to their interpretation like their lives depended on it. Online, fans were spiraling. Tweets and comments poured in, some praising Solange for speaking her truth, others rushing to defend Beyoncé against accusations of overshadowing her sister. One viral comment read, "The Knowles sisters just gave us the most raw family moment in history." Another raged, "This is exploitation, airing family wounds for the world." Then, as if the documentary knew it had reached its boiling point, the conversation between the sisters softened. Beyoncé reached for Solange's hand, her voice cracking as she said, "I never wanted you to feel small because of me. I just wanted us to shine together." Solange blinked back tears, whispering, "And I never wanted to resent you. But sometimes I did." The vulnerability was devastating. One watcher in the room let out a shaky breath, whispering, "This is history right here." Another murmured the family was left divided, and now we're watching them try to piece it back together. But before anyone could process the reconciliation, the documentary swerved into yet another shock. Footage appeared of Jay-Z sitting in a chair looking pensive. His voiceover began to play, and instantly everyone in the reaction room sat up straighter. The tension shifted from sibling rivalry to marital secrets, and the stakes soared. Jay spoke about mistakes, admitted that in the pursuit of success, he sometimes forgot the cost of neglecting the ones who mattered most. The words weren't direct, but they were loaded, hinting at cracks in the marriage that fans had speculated. About 4 years. 4 years. Our watchers lost it. One leapt from the couch and shouted, "He's confessing right now. This is about the cheating rumors." Another shook their head in disbelief, muttering, "No way they'd let him say this on camera. This has to be edited to look worse than it is." The chat online ignited into chaos. Fans typed furiously, flooding timelines with declarations that the rumors had been true all along, while others defended the couple, insisting it was nothing more than vague reflections on fame and family. The divide was brutal, with friendships in comment sections shattering over whether Jay's words were an admission or just vague regret. Then came the bombshell. Beyoncé's voiceover overlapped DJ's, her words sharp but trembling. She said, "Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from the one you thought would protect your heart." The room went dead silent. Jaws dropped. One watcher clutched their chest dramatically, whispering, "She just exposed him. Right here, right now." Another shouted in denial, "No, she's talking about her father again. Stop twisting it." But the ambiguity only fueled the fire. People were screaming at each other across the room, their voices bouncing off the walls. Some were swearing Jay was the villain of the story. Others swore her father was the only one she could possibly mean. The debate grew so heated that it felt like the room itself might split in two. And just when it seemed the chaos couldn't escalate further, the documentary revealed private home footage of Beyoncé and Jay together during a tense dinner. Their body language was icy, their smiles forced. The silence between them said more than any words could. Beyoncé finally broke it by asking quietly, "Do you ever think about what you've risked?" Jay stared down at his plate, offering no reply. The room exploded. Someone shouted, "That's it! He's guilty!" Another argued furiously, "You're reading too much into this. Couples fight. It doesn't mean anything." The online reaction mirrored the same chaos, with thousands of fans dissecting every glance, every gesture, every pause, as though decoding the secrets of a royal family. But the documentary wasn't done. In the next sequence, Beyoncé spoke, directly to the camera, her voice trembling but steady. She said she believed in forgiveness, but forgiveness didn't erase scars. She admitted there were nights she cried so hard she thought she'd never get up again. But she always rose, because the world expected her to. Tears flowed in our reaction room. One watcher whispered, "She's holding everything together for the entire world, and we didn't even know." Another shook their head in disbelief, saying, "And the people closest to her are the ones breaking her." The chat section online exploded with support, fans typing messages of love and solidarity. Hashtags began to trend, declaring her the ultimate survivor, the queen who could never be broken. But alongside the support, darker comments emerged. Some fans turned their anger toward Jay, demanding explanations, while others lashed out at her father, accusing him of creating the cycle of pain. The family was left shredded in the public eye. each member painted as both villain and victim. And then came a chilling moment. Beyoncé whispered, "I wonder if peace is something I'll ever find, or if my life is destined to be chaos." The words were soft, but they carried the weight of prophecy. The room fell silent, shaken. No one dared to speak. The screen faded into another performance montage, dazzling lights and roaring crowds. But the magic no longer felt like magic. Every smile looked like a mask, every dance step like an escape from the storm raging behind her eyes. One watcher whispered, "This is the saddest thing I've ever seen." Because she's shining for us while breaking for herself. The glittering stage faded into darkness, and the sudden quiet felt almost ominous. The cheering crowds disappeared, and the next scene dropped us into something far more unsettling: Beyoncé sitting alone, without makeup, staring into her phone camera as if recording a private confession meant only for herself. Her voice shook as she admitted she was terrified of losing herself completely. "Sometimes I don't even know where the performer ends and the real me begins," she whispered. The honesty was suffocating, raw enough to make everyone in our reaction room shift uncomfortably. Someone muttered, "This is breaking my heart," while another said, "No, this is a cry for help." And then came a confession that sent the entire room into chaos. She revealed she had considered walking away, leaving it all behind: the fame, the career, even the people who depended on her. "I thought maybe if I just disappeared, I could finally breathe," she said through tears. Gasps filled the room. One watcher covered their mouth, whispering she wanted to quit everything. Another shouted, "This is betrayal to her fans. How could she even think that?" The divide cracked open again, with voices rising, some defending her right to escape, others condemning the very idea online. The reaction was volcanic. Some fans flooded timelines with messages of love, promising they'd support her no matter what choice she made. Others grew furious, typing long threads about how she owed everything to her audience, how her absence would destroy the very empire she built. The fandom itself was fracturing before our eyes, mirroring the turmoil in her family. The documentary then cut to unseen footage, a tense family gathering. Her mother, her sister, even her father were there. The atmosphere was icy, filled with forced smiles and awkward silence. Beyoncé's voiceover described the scene as both necessary and unbearable. A reunion meant to heal, but destined to reopen old wounds. Her father tried to lighten the mood, but his words fell flat. Solange avoided eye contact. Tina sat with her, arms crossed, silent but visibly holding back emotions. Then, suddenly, Beyoncé addressed the room. Her voice shook, but carried strength. "I feel like I've spent my whole life being everyone's everything. When is it my turn to be just me?" The reaction was explosive. Tina's voice cracked as she insisted that everything they did was for love. Matthew interrupted, defending his past actions again, saying discipline was necessary, that without him, she wouldn't be where she was. Solange snapped, telling him he never understood the damage he caused. The argument spiraled, voices rising, accusations flying, in our reaction space. People shouted over the scene, some defending Tina, others blasting Matthew, and a few clinging to Solange's raw honesty. It felt like we were in the room with them, part of the storm. Beyoncé finally raised her voice, silencing everyone. "You all claim it was love, but love doesn't always hurt like this." The words landed like a thunderclap. In the reaction room, one watcher jumped up, yelling, "She's breaking free right here. This is the moment." Another shook their head, whispering, "No, this is the moment the family will never recover." Online fans were losing their minds. Hashtags exploded, some declaring her a hero for confronting her family, others blasting her for airing private wounds in public. The division was brutal, and the comments scrolled faster than anyone could read. But the documentary wasn't finished with us yet. In the next sequence, Beyoncé sat across from Jay, the tension in the room so thick it was suffocating. Try. To explain, his voice low, filled with regret. I made mistakes, he admitted, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. Beyoncé's response was devastating. You broke something in me I don't know if I can ever fix. The reaction room gasped. Someone whispered, that's the end of their marriage right there. Another argued, no, that's her demanding accountability. She's stronger than ever. The camera captured Jay's silence, his eyes heavy with shame, and fans online pounced instantly. Some declared the marriage dead. Others praised Beyoncé for standing her ground, for refusing to hide behind perfection anymore. And then came the most haunting moment yet. Beyoncé looked into the camera, tears streaming, and whispered, I just want to be loved without conditions. The simplicity of it shattered everyone. Our reaction room fell into stunned silence, tears glistening in more than one pair of eyes. Online, comments turned into paragraphs of support, people confessing their own pain, their own longing to be loved unconditionally. It was no longer just her story, it was everyone's. But the documentary ended not with resolution, but with uncertainty. The final shot lingered on her, standing alone in a darkened stage. Lights dimmed, microphone in hand, but no song. Just silence. The screen faded to black, leaving us suspended in questions with no answers. The reaction room erupted in chaos. Some shouted it was the most powerful ending they'd ever seen. Others called it manipulative, a cliffhanger designed to torment. Arguments broke out, accusations flew, and the divide between viewers grew wider than ever. Online, the war escalated too. Some fans declared undying loyalty, vowing to stand by her no matter what came next. Others admitted they felt betrayed, shattered by the possibility that their idol's life was built on fractures and secrets. The fandom itself felt like it was splitting apart, echoing the very chaos we had just watched unfold on screen. And there, in that unresolved tension, the main body of the story leaves us Beyoncé's family divided, her marriage scarred, her fans split, and her own voice echoing with a haunting desire for unconditional love. The storm has consumed everything, and the question that now lingers is whether she can ever emerge whole, or if the fractures we've seen are permanent. And just like that, the screen faded to black. But the questions it left behind still linger in the air like smoke after a fire. What we just witnessed wasn't just a documentary. It was an unraveling of family bonds of trust, of love itself. Emotions ran high, accusations were thrown, tears were shed, and in the end, nothing was truly resolved. Beyoncé's words echoed in our ears, her longing for unconditional love, her confessions of betrayal, her desperate need to simply be free. And as much as she bared her soul to us, somehow, she left us with even more mystery than answers. The family is left divided. The fans are split in two, and the world is buzzing with debates that may never reach a conclusion. Was she calling out her father, her husband, her sister, all of them at once? Did we just witness the first cracks of a final break? Or was this the start of true healing? Only time will tell, and until then, we're left clinging to every word, every glance, every silence. And now, I want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Do you think Beyoncé's confessions were brave? Or do you feel she crossed a line by putting her family's wounds on display? What moment hit you the hardest? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is a conversation too big for just one reaction. And if you're as hooked as we are on uncovering the layers of this story, just make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2 of our reaction series. Trust me, the drama is only just beginning, and you do not want to miss what comes next.